All right, welcome back, everyone. This is going to be a special episode. I got a special guest on, a good friend of Aaron Foster, who's a regular on my channel. But I got Erica here. So, morning, Erica.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so Erica is a nurse certified, and she's the owner and director of the District Injector. So maybe you want to give my audience a little backstory about yourself and your journey.
Sure. My name is Erica, and I'm a nurse practitioner. I'm currently out of Washington, D.C. I originally grew up in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and then went away for college and ultimately landed in D.C. I did nursing for many years, did some travel nursing, ultimately decided I wanted to go back, get my NP, which then led me into becoming a business owner on my own in a totally different space. My career was mostly critical care, level 1 trauma, and then now I'm in a aesthetics, cosmetic / elective practice with sexual health and wellness. So that's kind of where I am now.
All right, so let's get this off the table now. So I know
Sure.
Aaron is a great friend of ours, and he's very likes to stir up the pot a little bit. But he wanted to tell me that you are the best pickle practitioner out there. So maybe you can kind of explain. I think that relates to what your business is about, and kind of maybe the difficulties that you face. Maybe people coming to you to reach out for your services. Maybe you can touch on that a little bit.
Sure. So basically, my business was originally started in like the aesthetics space, like Botox, filler, etc. But what happened was we were facing difficulty in our personal lives. So my husband is a Purple Heart veteran, and we were finding that his testosterone levels were in the hundreds, and we were getting told he's fine, it's nothing, whatnot. Well, I know it's not nothing. I'm aware it's not nothing as a practitioner. So we were hitting a lot of roadblocks, which ultimately led me to say, you know what, forget it. I will study this, I will train on this, and I will bring it back to my practice, because it's not just you who's also hearing this. There have to be other veterans, other men, families who are experiencing this. And so ultimately it started for him, which then later down the line leads to erectile dysfunction. It leads to male enhancement, which became quite popular in my practice. So it's HRT, erectile dysfunction, male enhancement, joint injections, regenerative medicine, peptides, etc. So it's kind of a one-stop shop for men, because I don't treat just symptoms. I kind of go for the problem, the cause, and solve for that. And then all those things kind of come together. And it's just what I've seen men want at the same time. So
So do you only help, is your business mainly for men, or do you have other services that women can go to?
there are other services women can do. So yes, I do aesthetic services. I have some sexual health options for women. I have weight management, with this both men and women. But when it does come to like the sexual health side, it is mainly geared towards men, and the hormone replacement men.
So as like I said, we both know Aaron, and us being in the fire service, we like to joke around a bit, and a lot of times, it's always making fun of everyone. But for you, do you find that as one of the challenges as far as people or men coming to you and saying they need help, I guess?
Yes. And originally the practice was moving on word of mouth. So one guy would tell another guy who told another guy, and or wives, etc., or veterans, really is kind of where it was spreading. And now, because I'm more open about that, I offer these services through social media. I have men finding me from all over the country. Prior to social media, I did have some international clients already, and it's making them more comfortable to come see me, because they're seeing me daily on social media. They're interacting with my life or hearing me talk about certain things, or even hitting a nerve about a specific instance that they may have experienced XYZ, and they feel like that was me, or that's relatable. And so you're coming to me as a practitioner, but also I was a spouse that sat on the other side of these conversations. Not even necessarily some of the things that go on were from my marriage. They could have been from previous relationships where I experienced these things. So you're kind of getting both sides when you're coming to me. And I'm hoping, and I do get this feedback, which I greatly appreciate, is that it's easy to talk to me, and that once they come in, yes, they're nervous, but once we sit down and talk, they kind of let their guard down and realize this is a safe space. She really wants to help me, and we kind of go from there.
Yeah, so I listened to your episode with First Responder Financial Freedom with
Mhm.
Mike and Aaron, and that was a great episode. And like I think you touched on that. Like you're talking about how you have clients that come in and they're always a little nervous or hesitant,
Mhm.
and you make them feel very comfortable. And you start laughing about things, and you basically tell them, I don't talk about this at home. This is not.
No.
Yeah,
No, it's the same thing. I think it may have been when I said, in the hospital, you're like cleaning people, and and they're embarrassed, and you're like, listen, I've seen more butts before you. I'm going to see more butts after you. Like, I do not go home and talk about your butt. It's the same exact thing. Like, I go home, I have a whole farm here and a husband to manage. I am not going home to talk about that specific thing. So, yes, yes.
so I guess the next question too is if someone did want to reach out to you, or is it something covered through medical? Can they go to their doctor and then that's how they could reach out to you, I guess? Is it covered through medical?
So my practice operates, it's elective. So I do not accept insurance for it. And the reason behind that is there are some limitations when you do go that route. And most of the services I do offer wouldn't be covered because they're not considered medical necessity. But when it comes to hormone replacement therapy, most men find that they do go the traditional route of seeing their urologist or their primary practitioner, and their numbers come back, and the provider says they're within normal limits, it's fine. I take more of a symptom based approach. So if you're experiencing X, Y, and Z, and your numbers may not necessarily be below 300, it's okay because you're having symptoms and we're trying to solve for that. The other thing is practitioners typically don't just run your testosterone as a male. You kind of have to ask for that unless you're going to a practice that specifically specializes in it. So most men don't actually realize until they hear like a podcast like this or something online that they can ask to have those run. And sometimes we find men are being put on medications like antidepressants or other medications for symptoms that are related to low testosterone. So you always kind of want to seek out someone that this is what they do all day, every day.
What are some of those symptoms that someone should be looking out for that maybe reach out to you?
Sure. So we have low libido. We have, abdominal weight gain. There's lack of motivation. Sometimes there's like a little bit of depressive symptoms. We talk about people's sleep, activity in the gym, work progress. So there's quite a few different things that are related to low testosterone. And it doesn't necessarily have to be one specific thing. One thing I always throw out is like, when's the last time you had woke up with an erection? And some guys are like, and they're thinking, and I'm like, took too long to think about that. You should have probably said this morning. So sometimes those are things too that I look out for.
Thought it was just getting old, right? So maybe, so yeah, I think a lot of times people just brush it off too, right? They just, like you
Mhm.
said, maybe they just think they're getting old, they're tired, depressed. So it could be those things, right?
But that's a huge misconception that erectile dysfunction is an older man's condition. There are more men, younger and younger, coming in with extremely low testosterone levels and low level symptoms, and they're being brushed off due to being 20s or 30s or low 40s. And we're finding that men that are younger, like our great grandparents or our grandfathers, had higher testosterone at the levels now that men are coming in. And we don't know the true reason why. We could guess like diet, environmental factors, etc. But I just want men to know, just because you're under a certain age, do not have somebody tell you no for it. It's not only an older man's um, condition, disease, etc.
The other pushback I always hear is so like I always when I was in the fitness side a little bit more
Mhm.
earlier in my when you're younger, a lot of people are telling you, oh, don't do these type of things because it shuts off like your natural production,
Mhm.
maybe testosterone and whatnot. So what would you say if someone was told that information?
So, okay, there's a couple ways to approach this. One, if your production isn't producing anyway, why is giving you the supplementation a problem? Like it's already stopped. So, why would you not add to that? Second, I explained this on the other podcast as well. When your thyroids don't function optimally, we give you thyroid medication to act as those hormones to help your body to keep functioning. Why can we not do the same thing when your testicles aren't doing it? It's a hormone. Your body needs it. You were born with it, and now it's stopped producing. So let's give it back to you so you feel better. Why sit feeling like crap when there's ways to help you do that? So that's kind of the way I approach it. If it makes sense, hopefully that made sense.
Yeah, I think the other point you touched on in the other interview was also that it's kind of can be misused, and
Mhm.
that's why just like anything, right, if you use it properly, it has a lot of benefits, but there's people that are taking it that don't necessarily need it, and they're thinking they're going to get these extra benefits, and that's where you run into some problems.
Right. So testosterone isn't like the way I call the weight loss drugs. Like, it's not the magic shot that's going to solve all your problems. Can we, yes, help with feeling a certain way or your libido, certain things? But if there are underlying conditions as well, we have to solve for that too. I do find oftentimes like men will go to specific places that kind of just turn them out, like, or online, here's your testosterone, see you later. That they come in and they'll say to me, I thought I would have felt better. Well, are you working out? What's your cholesterol look like? Like, what are your other daily lifestyle activities? Are you sleeping? What's work like? Like, there's so much more that goes into this than just being like, here's your vial, here's your shots. See you in 6 to 8 weeks. So that's kind of a misconception I wish men also were aware of, that it may not fix everything. We still have to do some other things as well.
Yes, I know we've been touching a little bit more about the male enhancement or the sexual side of it, but you did mention there's other services that men can come in for. And I think I heard you mention not hair replacement, but maybe hair growth in the other episode. So a lot of firefighters for some reason are going bald or whatnot. So do you see a lot of men coming in for that?
So it depends with what we're treating. So if I have clients that are specifically just coming in for hair growth, and I offer certain services for that. If they're having injuries, certain peptides, I do shockwave therapy, joint injections, etc. We kind of have to come up with this whole plan. But you also have to know one of the side effects with testosterone could be hair loss. So you have to decide at a certain point, do you want the hair on your head or do you want to be able to utilize down here? Pick and choose. Most men opt for bald, and that's great because they want to feel better. So there's that. Other services, like they could get Botox, they could get fillers. I do male enhancement, so there's an option for that. But otherwise, it's more around regenerative medicine.
So was this always? I know you said you have a nursing background. So was this
Mhm.
always like a passion for you, or is it more like you said, you folks are facing your own personal challenges, and you kind of went deep into this, and now you saw like this is what I want to help other people with.
Mhm. So no, my whole plan was always to stay into critical care trauma. And I loved it. I loved the adrenaline of it. I loved being like the last line, people coming in. And it does get old having to tell people they're going to die or tell family members that their family member isn't going to make it. So, especially after COVID, when we were in there and we had to do things they couldn't even teach us in school. Like, you could have never been prepared for that. And after doing it over and over, it kind of just takes its toll. And ultimately, what got me into aesthetics in the first place was I went because I was in NP school. I looked tired and haggard, and I was like, my life's going a million miles an hour. It's not slowing down, but my face doesn't have to look like this. So I went and saw someone and I left, and I was like, oh, I feel so good about myself. It must be so nice to have people who want to see you, who aren't screaming at you, who don't think that like you're the worst person in the world. And so I slowly was creeping to the other side. And that's kind of what happened. The men's side is different in the sense that that did kind of fall into my lap in a certain way, but the reward behind it and seeing the success of the men and the changes in their marriages and then their lives, like that's to me worth it. So that's way better than some of the other things I've had to do.
So how has been the transition from nursing to owning a business? Because I think even in the fire service, right, a lot of people look at it as this great career.
Mhm.
It's kind of their dream job, and I think a lot of people in the nursing field, that's the same thing. And they also see this 3 12-hour shift schedules a lot of times, or this great
Right.
schedule, and it's something they've worked so hard for. And then now you have your own business. How's that
Right.
transition been?
So I didn't go to school to be a business owner. I went to school to be a nurse practitioner. So that changes. The 3 12-hour shifts, even though they really weren't 3 12s when you did them in the first place, they're like 16s. That's gone because it's 24/7. But there are perks to it in that you're the one who gets to make the decisions. I get to pick and choose who are the clients or who are not the clients. If you're not nice to my staff, you don't get to stay. Like there's certain things about being a business owner that are great, but you also have to you have to have the right lawyer, the CPA, all the other aspects that come with it that you didn't think of. It's not as easy as like, which a lot of people think, open it and they will come. Like you're going to put a sign up and all of a sudden here comes everybody. It doesn't work like that. You have to be prepared to, like I did, I worked at the one job to fund the other one until I hit a point where I was like, I'm done. I'm going all in. You have to have the funding or the partner who's willing to support you when you're making nada. So there's a lot that goes into it. The laws are always changing, everything like licensing, it's wild. So it's not easy, but I don't know that I could go back is the other thing. So that's tough.
Yeah, I think the important thing is also a lot of people are looking for balance, but they don't realize that it takes
Oh,
sacrifice before you get. Yeah, so
there's no
but
balance.
same thing. I also heard you talking about it. Like ultimately, you're doing this for the time freedom also,
Mhm.
but right now it's maybe a little hectic. Like I think you talked about, maybe you or your husband leaves work at 4 in the morning.
He
You come
does,
home at
yeah.
night. Yeah, so
Mhm.
you guys sometimes
Yeah,
are kind of trying to pass each other in a sense, but it's all for
right.
this time freedom on the end. So how has that been as far as that the balancing, I guess?
So it can be tough. It's very, I'm grateful because I have a partner who's supportive of what I'm doing and sees like the end game for it. So yeah, he gets up 4 a.m. He's like, I'm out. He goes, I get up, I go to my office. I'm not back till like 9:30. And he's already like, I'm going to bed like 2 hours ago. So there's times where we're crisscrossing, but just like, hi, good night, bye. But it's for in the end game the goal. And I explained previously, you always have to find the person's motivation. For me, it's time. I want my time back. I want to be able to ride the horses that are in my yard. I want to be with my dogs, my husband. I want to go on trips. So time, where other people may be motivated by money. So I explained to the guys before I went and spoke with this amazing business coach, and he was like, so you could basically throw all the money at Erica you want, and she's gonna be like, I don't care. But if you told her you'd give her like a vacation, she'd take it because she wants time to do things. So you really also, as a business owner, have to learn what's motivating your staff, what's motivating you to get you out of that bottleneck of just drowning, because you're never going to grow after a certain point. You have to solve for what's the bottleneck and how to get you to where you want to be. And for me, that's home. So
What has
hopefully,
been the what has I guess been the biggest learning curve for you as far as starting your own business?
learning curve. I think in the beginning, it was just like all the paperwork of making sure I had everything legally correct and what like insurance things mean. Like when they say 1 million, 6 million, whatever, and you're like, I don't even know what that means. Like, do I really have to have this? But then I think the learning curve, I think this might be a totally different answer for most people. Being a business owner teaches you more about you than you probably knew. And it teaches you, like for myself, I had to learn I communicate a lot of things in my head and not out loud. And I can't expect other people to, if they don't do something correctly, know what was in here and what my expectation was in here. And that you have to teach people, and they're only as good as you trained them to be. So that is probably something that I would say is a learning curve for people, because you're so used to doing everything. And then you have to realize that in order to let things go, to get to goal, you have to teach other people. And when you're already drowning, you're like, I can't spend one more minute teaching somebody because I don't have the time. So you have to realize you have to give more time in those moments to teach to be able to then get time back. So that was probably a huge thing, because it's so much easier to be like, oh, forget it, I'll just do it myself. And the point is like, I can't do anything else. There is nothing else I can do at this point. So
Yeah,
that would probably be.
yeah, I think that's probably the biggest struggle for most people that start a business is getting over that point of where either they're gonna be able to delegate it to someone else or let them do it. It may not be exactly how you want it done,
Right.
but you have to be able to kind of realize that it's gonna get done, and I think that's the challenge for a lot of people. The other thing about starting a business, especially in today's times, it's not just about having a business and putting out ads. It's a whole social media side. And I think your business, I mean, I'm sure there's challenges because I think you touched on it also. There's comments and DMs and, the topics that you cover. So how has the social media side been?
In the beginning, I was very social media heavy. And then in the middle, when I got super busy, I couldn't keep up with it. And I was fortunate to find a team of people that I was able to bring on to help me with all of that now. So I'm getting my content out daily, etc. I'm not as active on my stories as I probably should be, but social media gets you reach. It gets you out to people. You are going to get a bunch of bad apples, a bunch of people you don't want, but for all those bad ones, that one good person comes through and it's worth it. So, as much as people don't like social media, it does have its part in this whole thing, especially if you want to reach people.
Yeah, and Aaron wanted to make sure that no one does consultations through DMs and sends you pictures and tries to get a
Yeah.
consultation that way, right?
Right. Well, it's medical. So I can't, I always tell people, I'm like, I can't provide you medical advice through a social media platform. But here's my booking link. And everything, all the questions, answers, they're on my website, or people will say, where are you from? It's literally in the bio of the thing that you clicked that says message to message me. Like it was right above it. So sometimes it's like people could do just a little bit of research before sliding into the DM. And your ideal client though is going to do exactly what they're supposed to. It does that doesn't happen. They go straight to your website, they book, they meet, their paperwork's done. It's amazing. So you just gotta weed through like anything. You'll
So Yeah, so it sounds like you said you're heavy social media in the beginning. You
Mhm.
have a team now. So like how did you determine when it was time to kind of have someone else handle it, or was it because of just the time of it?
It was probably a lot of things. It was hitting a point where I just couldn't do everything. And I knew the importance of my social media and the presence on social media. And I know that people like seeing social media. So I could post the best before and after photo you've ever seen, and someone will DM me and go, "Hey, did those chicks hatch yet?" Like, they don't care about the before and afters. They want to know about like my farm or the horse or the this, whatever. So people on social media get to know you that way and feel a connection to you, so where you're kind of relatable. So, and if you think about other people you follow, you don't know them, but you feel like you know them. So that's kind of, I knew that was a missing piece, but also I knew I couldn't. And ultimately, the team I had now, I met at a conference and I was like, please, what do you want? Like, I will give you my left arm. Like, what do you need? And it took, I felt like I like begged, please do this. And they did it and it was awesome, and it's been awesome. It helps me a lot. It's one less thing I have to think about in the day. So if you can find people to pass certain things off to give you a little bit of freedom, you should. But you also need to remember that they're running a business too. So you need to pay people their worth. If you want to be paid your worth and value, you need to pay people their worth and value to do the same things back for your business. So,
Yeah, that's a great reminder. I think the same thing, even like trying to get to time freedom, it's about there's going to be sacrifices in the beginning, and
mhm.
and then you can kind of delegate it after a while. And I think that's it sounds like what you did. You're doing social media yourself, and at some point, yeah, you're able to pay someone else to do it, and now you've freed up more time. And sometimes your skill set is better used in other places. Like you said, you're trying to grow the business and
Mhm.
whatnot. And ultimately, you want it to be hands off. Sounds like right. You want it to
Right.
be the business owner, but it kind of runs on its own.
Right. So ultimately, at some point, I would like to be able to step back and be managing everything as opposed to being everything. So right now, I'm the only provider. So if I'm out of town or unavailable or whatever it is, everything ultimately can come to a stop. Where the goal is down the line to where all of that can keep moving without me.
So, what would you say to someone who has a maybe great career, the
Mhm.
fire service, nursing, police, first responder, whatnot, and had an idea or thought of starting a business? What kind of advice would you give them?
I would say it needs to be something that you're passionate about, something that makes you happy and doesn't feel like work every day, because there will be days that are going to try you and make you question why you did this in the first place. And it's, if you can, it's so worth it. The freedom of it is so worth it. And yes, there's so many sacrifices that are made, but if you have the right partner and the right support system and you surround yourself with the right people, it is possible and it's awesome. If you do, I always say never be the smartest person in a room. Always hang out with the people that you want to be like, or like have businesses like, because you'll elevate yourself. You'll then start doing things to improve. If you hang out with the bottom dwellers, that's where your business and you are going to exist. But if you hang out with the people who are up here, constantly learning and growing, etc., then you will get there too. And support other people in their businesses. I like that I know people from different industries to where I can support them. It's not competition, it's not anything. And I even support local people to me who do the same thing as me. There's enough people for everyone.
Okay, so we are filming this, what is it, April 29th.
Mhm.
Now let's just kind of maybe wrap this up. I know there's a lot of uncertainty in the economy, the
Mhm.
market, and whatnot. Like for you, does any of that affect your business, with tariffs, Trump's policies, or are you just going about and doubling down on what you're doing?
So I think that's really important in your business to have a niche and an ideal client and an understanding of what it is you're trying to achieve. So for me, if someone is looking for sexual health, male enhancement, HRT, etc., this is what I do. So those clients are going to find me. Those clients who want that are going to continue to pay for that. Where if you're looking for people who are just chasing deals or specials, etc., they're never going to stay with you. They're going to come, they're going to get your deal, and they're going to go on. So it's about building a business of an ideal client who is very mindful of what they spend their money on, but they also have that expendable income to do that. So that for me, I'm not. Yes, are his would the tariffs eventually impact? Yes, we have medicine. It all doesn't come from inside the United States. There's supplies, needles, machines, etc. that won't come from here. But at the end of the day, people are going to continue to keep getting certain services and have certain needs, and you just have to have the right people within your practice for that or your business, whichever, whatever.
Now, if people wanted to find you and had questions, and where can they find you on social media?
So my social media is at the District Injector, or you can find me at thedistrictinjector.com. And all our contact info is at both. So you can inquire to the office, email the office, call the office, etc. But the first place to start would probably be on social media, TikTok or Instagram.
Do not get any consultation through DMs, right? That so reach out to you properly,
Mhm.
get a consultation, get some information. So I think the other thing is I definitely wanted people to get a more backstory on you, uh,
Mhm.
know what you're working on, and like I said, hopefully we can get you on some
Sure.
live streaming with us. I think a lot of people will have some questions on how you can help them, and like I said, a lot of people just think or they're brushing it off as they're getting old, and they just think I'm getting old. This comes with the territory, and like you're saying, a lot of times these are symptoms that they should be looking at solutions that things that could be helping them improve their living.
Hmm. Yeah.
All right, so
Yeah.
this was a lot of fun. I'm glad we got a good backstory on you, and hopefully we
Thank
can get you
you.
back on again. So thanks, Erica.
Thanks so much for having me.